Hey, sweet souls, it's DTO in the flow, inviting everyone in to take a deep breath, open mouth exhale. Thank you for tuning in. As always, you have the opportunity on this live streaming 5Q interview. Today, I get to interview Matthew Human. You can comment, ask a question, and feel free to share. Today, we're going to talk about music, Costa Rica, and an extraordinary New Year's Eve party that we're all going to be a part of that we invite you to. And we'd love for you to, in addition to comment, type in your favorite emoji. It's a fun game to play. Anyone that knows social media knows that algorithms are a thing. So even if you just do a quick little emoji, we know you're out there. We know that it could possibly float to the top of people's feeds. And you can always follow me at DTO Music, my website, Instagram, all the places and spaces that we get to be connected to in this lifetime. And I am live on location at Embody, Costa Rica. We have an upcoming retreat that is December 3rd through the 13th, 2022. EmbodyCostaRica.com. We'd love to have you. It's a transformational camp for adults to replenish, nourish, and restore their vision in life. So you get to come, be with Himalaya, who is guiding, and we have extraordinary souls that are going to be flying into Costa Rica and some people that already live in this beautiful slice of paradise in Central America. Okay, so without further ado, I am going to introduce Matthew Human. He is an internationally recognized singer, songwriter, and personality based in Costa Rica. Pura vida mai. With over 7 studio albums and a music career spanning more than 20 years, Human's style is earthy and vibey with a definitely country folk influence and has a danceable upbeat rhythm that draws from a wide spectrum of world music. Matthew's songs are intentional, fun, and creative with an obvious goal of bringing people closer together and sometimes shining light on issues that he feels needs to be addressed, such as protection of the food system, sacred plants, and ancient traditions. Matthew has been invited to perform as a featured artist outside the White House. That's amazing. And as the leader of his country rock world dance band, the Human Revolution. And that was for many years a staple on the US festival circuit. He is as comfortable playing for a small, cozy living room space as he is opening shows for legends like Willie Nelson, and has been joined on stage by members of the Doobie Brothers, Spearhead, and many other notable bands. Matthew is an avid farmer and a disciple of permaculture, yes, which is a harmonious system of design incorporating water harvesting and food systems. Matthew has spent the last 3 years full-time managing his farm in Costa Rica, where he is developing an eco-educational event and retreat center. He also manages 75 acres of trails, roads, off-grid water, and solar systems for his 26-member eco community. And here we are in 2022, and he has been on the road in the US as well as here in Costa Rica, sharing his music and stories. And as we said, we are going to share with you an upcoming New Year's Eve event. And without further ado, we will bring on my brother from another mother, Mr. Matthew Human himself. How are you? Nice to see you.
Yeah, pura vida. Hey,
Pura
DTO.
vida. What was it like to have the big introduction?
I was like, wow, man, I sound like a pretty cool guy. Hang out with me.
Absolutely. I love it. All right. We already have a comment.
Ever so humble, of course.
Absolutely. So Jennifer, big shout out to you. We'll give Jennifer a little love blast.
And a flower. Yay.
Yes. Nice to see you. All right. Cheers. We'll kick it off. So a little drum roll for our 5Q interview. All right. And good morning to Rusty. Question number 1. When did you begin your musical journey? The origin story.
Oh, I love this. This is so cool. Thank you for. Just want to say thank you for having me on this DTO.
My pleasure.
Let's see. Okay, so I remember two things from my youth. Three things very clearly from my youth. Number one is the MASH theme song. Whenever MASH came on, which I've later found out this year, actually, is kind of interesting that the song is called "Suicide is Painless," and it's actually the name. It was actually a pop song in the 70s, and it's this kind of folk song about suicide, which I never really understood. I didn't know that as a child. I just liked the my mom always says whenever it came on, I would get up there and start dancing in front of the screen. She likes to tell people that story still to this day. Two other things, which one of them is Van Halen's Jump. We had the what do you call it, what do they call those little vinyl discs,
the 45s
45s. Somehow we had a 45 single of this, me and my sister and our friend Kelly, and we would just rock that. I think I was 4 years old, and I remember just we had like a kids record player, and we had that and How Much Is This Doggy in the Window. Those were our like two like raging like rock outs. And the third one is I remember watching Huey Lewis in the News on MTV. That was a big one because that was how I got into the saxophone. I'm a sax player now to this day because of that. I also loved Gloria by Laura Branigan. Gloria, Gloria. Da-na-na. You know, it was like I was born in 1980, so like end of the disco era, beginning of like, you know, new wave pop stuff like that. But I was still my parents listened to, you know, what's it called? Like my mom was into Motown and like soul and stuff like that, and dad was like into classic rock. So yeah, I think that's and then I got a kid's drum set, you know, when I was a little kid, like young, like maybe 2 or 3, and when I was like 6, I got a like a kid's guitar and singing, you know, microphone kit, and yeah, and then I started playing saxophone when I was in middle school or whatever, you know, and then guitar, keyboards, drums, all bass, all that came down the line. So
that's amazing. So good. So I have a, so
yeah.
do you recognize this?
Yeah. No, is that what it was? Was that the single cover? That was the
For
single. Maybe we had the whole. Maybe we had the whole thing. I remember an angel. Like,
yeah, this is a little kid with an angel.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah, Van Halen.
Bringing back.
Rest
memories.
in peace, Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Changing lives. So I gotta tell you, my first legitimate concert ever was Huey Lewis in the News. I saw him at the 5 Season Center in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And guess what? They had the Tower of Power bringing it on the horns. Oh, so rich. So the sax, the trumpet, they were just blowing hard. It was so good that night.
I still love Huey Lewis in the News. I still like, you know, still listen to like his greatest hits is like my childhood soundtrack. It's like just good stuff, man. Good
Sports.
Stuff.
That whole album, Sports, did it for me. They say the heart of rock and roll. That was the album. Then he had 4. Yeah, we were big. My brother and I loved Huey. And, you know, of course, the soundtrack music they made just was all these movies in the 80s that were phenomenal. And unfortunately, blessings to Huey, he has some vocal issues. He's not able to sing in his later years, which is a reminder for all of us out there, whether you're a musician, a speaker, artist in any way, like preserve your body as much as possible and be a caretaker. And sometimes things happen in life that, you know, so that's another way you want to pursue your dreams. Like now, besides the whole, I call it a syndrome of someday, the someday syndrome. Like one day I'll learn how to do this and I'll be creative. And a part of this podcast, as we know, is about creativity. So that's one of my themes and inspirational parts of all of us. And I'm grateful that as you're sharing that you had those influences. And I love the song Gloria, Gloria.
Heck yeah, bro.
It's kept on going up and up and up. Like, so as a songwriter, you're like, and we're going to peak and climax again. Is this the hook? And it just keeps on hooking.
No, and it actually turns out that song was a cover of, I believe it was an Italian single, and it was it's called Gloria, but it was like an Italian song, and they just like changed the lyrics and made it English, and so it actually wasn't an original. It was already a hit in Italy, which I think it's so cool that they did that. And by the way, I know this is a total side note, but Huey Lewis made a cameo on the last season of Blacklist, which was this show I used to like with what's his name? James Spader was kind of plays this like FBI informant slash what do you call it? Like criminal mastermind. And there's this whole thing with the where he gets Huey Lewis to show up to someone's birthday party. And anyways, he's still around, still kicking in the pop sphere, bro.
Yeah, and as Stu wrote here, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are live streaming, so any comments we could put up here. So yeah, Stu says, yeah, Huey lost his voice. Unfortunate, but that's what's great about being a musician. And you and I know this, human music continues. It once it's recorded, once it's out there, it goes on and on and on, right? All this music can be out there forever. And even though he lost his voice now, I mean, the content, the catalog of music that they put together. I remember going to a skating rink when, like, in middle school, it was the thing to like ask someone out to go skating. And
do you
believe in love? That song. Yeah,
mine was, and if this is it, please tell me so. If this is love, you better let me go.
And they hit the vortex. That was like MTV back in the day when it was showing music videos. And when you hit big, it was huge. Like when you sang that song just now, I was like, oh, I remember the video. They were out like in this deserted island or something, underwater. Oh, and then we got Rusty. Let's give some Van Halen vibes. Yeah, what a tour with Diamond Dave, David Lee Roth. If you want something amazing, Rusty, for Van Halen, just go on and search on YouTube for acapella David Lee Roth and some of these vocal takes. There's this one song he was tracking. Oh, so just by itself. Like, even if you just listen to raw Michael Jackson takes, no auto tune, nothing at all, just raw recordings. It's incredible. There's this one time when David Lee Roth was singing and he hit such a high note. He did one of those, wow. He actually like giggled afterwards because he couldn't believe he did it, you know.
You can hear it in the take.
Yeah, you can hear him crack up. And then Rusty put it in here too. Yeah, Dad loved Huey, VH1 '83 music. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's the same time frame. Well, I saw Van Halen as well. You know, I never saw him back I saw Halen the first time in '86 with Van Hagar, which I loved as well. So yeah, it's always fun, right? This is a whole other podcast. Love a rainy night. Oh yeah. Ooh, I love a rainy night. So good. Awesome. Well, that's only question one and we're already having a blast. So let's get into question number two, which is, now that you absorbed this amazing gift called music, you got inspired. You mentioned 3 different songs that you really enjoyed and artists. At what point, when you sponged all that up, did you say, okay, I'm going to start to play these instruments? As you mentioned, you got saxophone and started singing. So then what inspired you? And then break it down to, like, was there like an aha moment, or was there over time you worked and developed on songwriting? Maybe you had a friend that was writing music. So tell us about how it went from listening to music to then playing music.
Wow, I'm trying to remember like where exactly that happened, but I know I was terrified of singing. And I was terrified to sing, like, publicly. I played saxophone. I think I started playing guitar. I was telling someone this story yesterday, but we were talking about, someone was commenting like, why are all the musicians in your band men? And I was, or in, we do these jams up here, and they're mostly men. I mean, we invite women, of course, but most of the people that show up are men. And it dawned on me, I was like, well, why do male birds have pretty colors? It's like in human culture, the women are the ones that dress all colorful in general, and the men start playing music to get the ladies. And I'm no different. That to be, if I'm being honest, not music. I started music because it was in my soul and in my heart, saxophone, all that. But why did I start playing guitar? Because I was at band camp when I was 14 and I saw these two dudes with their guitars and 20 women around them singing Weezer covers. And I was like, damn, like those dudes are as cool as it comes and not having any trouble with the lady. You're an awkward 14-year-old, it seems like an in. I wasn't tall, I wasn't handsome, I wasn't good looking, but I could play some guitar. So I started playing guitar. That was probably the beginning of that. And then you just get it just infects you when you're like a especially me at that time. I get older guitar students, and they're actually at a disadvantage, not because you can never it's never too late to learn, and some people pick it up real quick. But when you have that benefit of youth, when you're 12 to 14, 15 years old, and don't my parents would watch TV in the other room, and I didn't want to watch TV. I grew up watching TV. I was just like, at some point I was like, I don't want to do that. So the guitar, being sitting in my room with the guitar and listening to music and trying to copy riffs and stuff like that was really how I spent a lot of my time as like a teenager, and it really helped me, like, just pass the time in a healthy way. And then of course, smoking weed and like listening to the Grateful Dead, that was another big moment. And I was like, wow, I love this music. And then it's Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, a lot of my heroes were just songwriters, and I just loved the craft of the song and like listening to these songs and just the beautiful how they came together. But I don't think it really came so much together for me then. What kind of came to me was when I was listening to the Grateful Dead, and I was just like, kind of copying, like, oh, okay, like how do they do this? I kind of started by that, like, oh, I like this. And like, what if I wrote my own songs? Because I realized I was like, Jerry Garcia was a great guitar player, but like what made him great and what made Hendrix great, what made a lot of these people great was not that they were like the best, most technically best players. They were good at doing what they did because they created what they did. They were the first ones to do what they did. So I realized that kind of early on, and I was like, I just got to do me and do what feels right for me. And then the next big aha moment would have been in college. My first year of college, I used to go check out bands at this place called the Robin Hood. I went to Kent State University, and in Northeast Ohio. And there was this smoky bar where all the bands came to play. And I remember seeing a lot of great bands then. Like this one band that I saw when they were like just starting, Umphreys McGee, is like this huge band now with a huge following. I meet people that are like, huge Umphreys fans and whatever. And this band Peach Melba that I loved, and there was a lot of great bands that would come through there. I mean, I think every Friday, Saturday, that's what I would do, go listen to bands. And I remember like I was always the first one on the dance floor because I loved to dance. I was a stoner. I would get stoned. I was always the first one out there because I was just like, somebody's got to be the first one on the dance floor, because I knew all it took was that first person to get out there to make everyone come out. Everyone was real shy. And well, I wasn't that shy. So I would get out there and I would do it. And I remember closing my eyes and listening to this music and just having such a beautiful experience, like moving. And then the lyrics would come on, and I was so hyper focused on the lyrics. But a lot of times they weren't that good. And they weren't, not, it's not that they weren't good or well written. It was just like they weren't saying anything important. And for me, that was like a really, really, really big thing that I was just like, why can't people make music that's also, saying something important, like, why don't talk about encourage people to do something good for the earth, encourage somebody, just spread like good information that people need, and like, and or to inspire people. Because, even the Grateful Dead, if you listen to their lyrics, a lot of times they were these kind of murder ballads, or like, just they were interesting songs, well written, very creative. but oftentimes, not really with a super good message. And then I think the first band I heard that I really fell in love with that did that was Michael Franti and Spearhead. And I was in college, my second year in university. They came to Cleveland, and there was nobody knew who they were. So we were like I was like one of five people in the whole venue, my sister and I, and like the four friends we brought. And then we got stoned with them outside the venue afterwards. I mean, it was like this tiny crew. And so they were a big inspiration, and like kind of showing like, okay. And they were huge, man. Spearhead was doing funky good music, really good music, but with conscious lyrics and saying something really good and important. And so I think I think I started sometime in there. In college I wrote this song. I was in a anthropology class called it was a primate studies class, and I used to get really ripped before class with my girlfriend. She and I were both in that class together. And we would get stoned before that. I didn't do it very often, but I did this one day. Actually, I never really did that because I liked that class and I liked to kind of be clear-headed when I was there. But one day I got really stoned before class, and I'm sitting in this class and I'm just getting downloads, like those. I don't know if you got any stoners out there, but if you were like early days of weed, when it was like you were so high that you were just getting just shit's coming at you. And I had a notebook and I would just sit there and write. And this song came to me. The teacher started talking about a rain shadow and the concept of rain shadows. And rain shadows, for those of you who don't know, is when there's a big mountain, weather tends to move in a certain direction, right? And so when there's a really big mountain, the clouds, and if it's a big thick mountain, the clouds they can't get through it. So what happens is it drops all its moisture on one side of the mountain so that the clouds can lighten up and go over the mountain and keep moving in the direction, right? Because they want to keep going in that direction. So on one side of these big mountains, you have a phenomenon where it's a very wet mountain. And on the other side of the mountain, it's very dry because it never doesn't rain much, because the rain is always dropped on the other side of the mountain and there's no more rain moisture for it to fall. So you see it in like Hawaii. It's really common out in Hawaii, like on Maui or Big Island. You've got a wet side of the island and a dry side of the island. That's why, because the side that's dry is called the rain shadow. And I remember hearing that word and just like it just kind of popped in me, and I started writing this song down. And then I kind of didn't really think too much about it. I think the idea was in my head was I was very politically active. I was very involved in environmentalism and politics in college. And I remember thinking like, it's just a matter of time. You always read about the US military and how much we're like involved in other people's wars and other people's countries, but you never hear about it here. And it's just like this thing that we hear about, but we don't really understand. But it's just a matter of time before that rain starts falling on our side. We're in this rain shadow right now. And that was the whole song. It was like rain shadow. It's just a matter of time before the rain is falling on our side. 2 weeks later was 9/11, and that rain started falling. And I was like, at some point after that all happened, I realized like maybe like weeks later, I was singing the song that I had written. And I realized that I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like I wrote a song and this shit kind of came true. Like I don't know what I was tapped into, but I knew I was tapped into something bigger than me. And that somehow and I started talking to other artists at the time, and they were all having similar experiences, where a lot of other artists had similar experiences, painters that were painting pictures of planes flying into buildings. Like there was something that I think was in the cosmic consciousness that I had picked up on. And at that point I realized like I'm somehow tapped in. I have some kind of gift that I want to explore and share, and it's bigger than me. And so that was for me like kind of the next level of like, I'm going to make this my career. Yeah.
Amazing.
Long answer.
Wow.
Sorry for the long answer.
Well, I love the backdrop because The universal question always is, where does inspiration come from? And as John Lennon famously said, he didn't write one song, he allowed for the songs to write themselves. So like when you have those phenomenons, you have these experiences, especially with Mother Nature and in our human journey and these adventures we have, we're these multi-sensory beings. And music is simply a frequency, an energy that gets to be shared through these ways that we're processing our lives. So I love it. That's a fantastic way to really understand. Oh, and someone just wrote in Tarzan.
Me no.
You got a nickname?
No, I was from my this last tour I did in the U.S. I had my photo shoot was me in a leopard skin loincloth, swinging in from on a vine,
Oh
and
wow.
it was called the swinging out of the jungle tour, and it was like my first tour in 3 years. So I think that's what he's referring
Oh,
to.
that's cool. Stu said consciousness spinning. I'm
That's
all
one of my
for it.
lyrics. That's one of my lyrics from one of my songs.
Oh, very cool. Got some amazing listeners today. All right, let's jump into question number 3. So I feel like it's a great dovetail question since you already explained about, behind the scenes, your own human journey then gets into your songwriting process that then creates lyrics. And as you said, you tap into that unity consciousness, that collective consciousness, that spiritual consciousness. And so, what is it that you like to do? Some best practices that gets you prepared to create and write a song. And then after you answer this question, we'd love to have you play some music for us.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. To answer that question, I have no idea. I don't really have a process. In fact, I haven't written a song in probably 2 years. In fact, I used to be really tapped in, man. I also used to smoke a lot of weed, so I think cannabis honestly has something to do with it because I haven't smoked much in the last couple of years. I've been taking a break, so I'm I'm not being cheeky when I say that. I think it somehow there's something when I'm with the herb, something about the presence. I know I prefer to be alone when I'm writing. I prefer to be in a quiet space, like with my own vibe, and like um that's how I get inspired. That's when those stream of consciousness songs come through. I don't have to be stoned to write a song, but it's a different process. Oh, hello. Something just fell on my roof. Anyway, um it's um it's a totally different process. And I lived in so I had this thing where I kind of had so I've got 8 studio albums. The first 7 of those I did. I mean, I was just like that. It was like a stream of consciousness. Every song, didn't put any thought into it. I just like they would hit me like this. I'd have to pull over. If I'm driving, I had to pull over and like write it down or like voice record it and come back to it. That was the And then I moved to Nashville. And Nashville is not they don't encourage that kind of writing so much. It's more you can see the 1969 album there. That was my Nashville album. And that album is
Hmm.
very different because I started becoming more into the craft of songwriting. And the craft of songwriting is very different. It's a weird one to have because this is also the first album that I put out where 3 of the songs I didn't actually even write. And
Hmm.
that 1969 is one of them. Um, because I was on this whole trip where I got a manager, and the manager was like, "You got to do this, you got to do this," and I was like, after the first 7 albums, I was just kind of ready to quit the music industry because it really wasn't. It was just so much hard work for me, and I was kind of spinning my wheels. I didn't have management. I didn't have anything. I didn't really have all the pieces you really need. I was doing everything, and I was broke, and I was tired of hustling and being broke. And so then I got this manager was inspired to work with me, and we got an investor and went to Nashville, and I kind of got sucked into I don't know how to say it, but the Nashville thing, you know, the dream and like the trying to appease the music industry and make a commercial album. And I'm real proud of that album. It was, still has my stamp on it, still has my vibe. But a number of those songs were written in a different way. I wasn't like getting stoned and writing by myself. I got into co-writing. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote with great other writers, which is a whole nother process because
Yep.
you're kind of riffing off each other, and it's like, well, what about this, like what about, you know, what if it's, you know, because you kind of keeping each other in check, like you're like, what is the theme of our song, and then like, you know, how do we make it move in a good way. So I worked with some really award-winning songwriters, great writers, and I got to, you know, see kind of their process and write with them, and it was really an interesting process. It's very different, you know, when you're writing for a pop audience, when you're writing with the intention of success and writing with the intention of popular, you know, getting people, you know, the hook's really important, and like how long the song is and how many verses, and you're
Yeah.
very cognizant of those things. Everything I did before that, I never thought shit about that. I was
Yeah. It
like,
wasn't formulaic.
I was like, this is cool. That's cool. Like it just formed. It just formed. So
Yeah.
now, yeah, that it was an interesting like experience to go into. But I think I'm at a point where when I do write, I have that kind of those kind of ideas like integrated. But I'm not gonna go back to like, I don't see myself like going back to like trying to do that. Like it's just the best music is that for me, even the stuff that people really love of mine is that really inspired um stream of consciousness stuff, you know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because, you know, for all of us, for me personally, my brother lives in Nashville. I've been to Nashville multiple times. I mean,
Oh
you have
yeah,
some of the best studio musicians in the world.
totally.
You have, as you said, a massive amount of talent concentrated in one town.
Yeah.
And as far as quality and logistics, think of the millions and millions of dollars worth of gear and like retro gear that you
Oh
can
man.
walk in the studios and they can give you a whole long list of people that have recorded. And the illusion is most people think it's all country and Western. It's full on any genre of music that you can dream up has been recorded in Nashville studios.
In fact, the producer I've been working with in the last like for the last few songs that I produced, we haven't even released them. I'm excited to release them. Norbert Putnam, he played bass on like 300 Elvis tracks. That was kind of his big thing, but he was
Amazing.
known in the 70s. He became the producer for non-country music in Nashville, and he built this studio called Quadraphonic Studio, and then he would have a bar upstairs and all the guys could come. You know, it was kind of like a hippie hang. They could go and drink for free. But the thing was they had to be available to come down and sing when he needed them. So like Towns Van Zandt and guys like that would be upstairs, you know, Roger Miller, they would be upstairs drinking, Chris Christopherson, they'd be
That's
upstairs
cool.
drinking while he's downstairs in the studio working. And he did all the non-country guys. So he did like Joan Baez and what was Dan Fogelberg, Jimmy Buffett. They weren't really country. They were like kind of outside the country realm. Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, or not Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. He did what was the other one? The oh man, I can't.
Credence?
New Riders of the Purple Sage. Like these kind of
Nice.
like the non-country guys that came to Nashville in those days. Norbert was your like go-to guy, and so yeah, and Bob Dylan, like they a lot of people came there and didn't. Yeah, but you're right. It's got this vibe of Nashville, but like right now, especially like the Black Keys, Jack White, a lot of like
Yep.
kind of the rock guys are also based there. So
Yeah, it's a phenomenal place to check out if you haven't been there. Anyone that's listening right now, and Nashville has its own culture, its own vibe, and it's expanded out completely. And
totally.
this day and age, let's even get into 2022 as far as songwriting, creating, producing, engineering, mixing, mastering. You can do so much now from your own laptop and your own software. Although it's always fun to be in that the dynamics
of an actual recording studio. And as you mentioned, like the history of knowing people and where they've been and their life experience. It's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
wonderful.
the last thing I recorded there was actually like, and Norbert had access to all of the biggest studios. We could have recorded anywhere, but he actually chose this guy's home studio out in East Nashville. He's like, this guy Casey. He's like, like he's actually got a pretty nice studio. I mean, he had 3 Grammy awards sitting on his like mantle, but it's just a house, and his
Totally.
house is, he's got a recording studio in his house, and you know what I mean? It's like you don't need
It's the
those
culture though of Nashville, right?
studios anymore. Yeah, yeah.
I
You
have
don't
a
need
good
those.
story. A buddy of mine I grew up with, we played like at school dances, rock band stuff, and we had like an old school Tascam 4-track recorder. And so
Nice.
my buddy Josh Bennett, he lives in Nashville. He's been there. He went to a music school down there, and essentially he had a plumber come over one day to fix some plumbing issues. And of course, he walks in the house, he does a plumbing job, and right in front of the house, there's a piano, a bass, a guitar. The guy's like, "Oh, you play? Yeah, I play." The plumber picks up a bass. He gets on the keys, piano, and they're still playing together. But it's like everyone, not everyone,
Nice.
but pretty much everyone plays music in Nashville. It's like in the
Oh, yeah.
blood.
Yeah, and
It's
that was I think I left that out of my story, but I actually went like when I was 12, we moved to Nashville to from 12 to 14. I was living in Franklin, which is just south of
I
Nashville.
know Franklin. Yeah.
It's where a lot of the producers, a lot of their lived, and so I went to school with a lot of their kids. Our music program in the marching band there, I was in marching band, jazz band, pep
Cool.
band, like I played saxophone and all these things. But the band program there was just unbelievable. It was so well funded. It was on par with the football team. It was like band, and because music was so well respected in that area,
Definitely.
we had digital recording classes when we were like young. I never paid attention.
Mm,
Those class. I should have, but I didn't.
that's
But
amazing,
anyway,
though.
yeah, right. But
Well, a lot of
anyways,
the funding, though, yeah, it comes from a lot of the musical stars that are in Nashville. So
right.
to even go deeper in this, my sister-in-law, Lisa, she's a elementary music teacher. So she has so many
In
instruments
Nashville.
in her classroom in Nashville. She
Uh-huh.
has about 8 years left, and then she'll be retired. But guess what? Like she has an abundance of a budget to work with, which is odd because you think, I used to be a high school teacher where it's always like trying to get funding and you have these great ideas and visions that students could actually have the tools required that they could expand and grow and be inspired. And in her school district, because there's so many local, specifically country and Western singers that will donate to the educational systems and the music programs, it's a culture, it's a way of life, and it's a respectable musical pathway. Where maybe if you're from another part of the world, people are like, "Oh, why would you ever do music? It's always you're going to be
Right.
a starving artist. It's not a respectable path. You got to be, doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever other occupation that people traditionally think about as being the one to do." So yeah, Nashville, when you're there, it's a whole other context. So that's great. So you were born in Ohio, is that right?
No, I was born in upstate New York in the swamplands of outside of Utica, and Utica,
Hmm.
New York is like kind of an hour. It's like between Syracuse and Albany. It's kind of the
Okay.
middle of the state. It's it's in that little city. Used to be a big mafia town, surrounded, but now surrounded by like marshes and whatnot, and the Mohawk River. It was Mohawk land traditionally, and Mohawk and Oneida, and yeah, and we moved to Northeast Ohio when I was 5, and then lived there until I was 12. We moved to Nashville, Franklin, outside Nashville, and then
Yep.
we moved back when I was 15, no,
Hmm.
16. I moved back to Ohio and finished off high school and went to college, and then I was like, I'm out of here.
There you go. And here we are in Costa Rica, right? So it's a nice trend when you can start traveling and going state hopping back then. That's great you're in marching band because for me as well, like being in marching band, like set the stage of like, oh, I can play this. I played like the quads or
Oh,
I'm so
quad.
old. They called them tri-toms back then. They
Hi,
didn't even have
Tom.
the quads.
I
Tri-toms. Yeah,
remember.
you're old if you're tri. Now they have like quints and whatever many. I'm sure they have just like drums all over you, just swing around and you'll hit something. But yeah, I think playing different styles of music and part of what we're talking about right now is when it comes to songwriting, as well as, I want to jump into question number 4 here. It's a good time, is, how people respond to your music. So it sounds like you've had so many different influences in your life, your origin story, different styles of music. Then, of course, having different instruments you've played, living in different places, having, of course, your tours that you've done, the people that you've met along your way. So what are the common threads? And I know that some people have commented here, like Stu gave you a big blast of love, or Mino did as well.
Mino, love you, brother.
And Jennifer here gives some love.
Oh yeah, I
so
love Jennifer.
All your fans, your listeners of your music, what are some themes or adjectives that come to mind? I know when I read and introduced you, you said that the word that a lot of people use is that it's earthy style of music. So what are some like common testimonials that you hear beyond it being earthy and vibey? So yeah, I'd love to hear that, because it's always unique, right? Because you create this music, or the creation just happens because it's happening. And then, how does it land with people? What do they tell you?
I think it would be better to hear from them, honestly, because I think everyone gets a little something different out of it. But one theme that has always existed in my music, like especially in the early days, was like consciousness and consciousness raising. Very political. I was very political. Like I said, a lot of my music was based in like, what do people say, like enlightening, like my whole point was like to have good grooves, good funky music, good dance stuff, but with positive lyrics or some kind of thing. So I've kind of used it as I think originally songwriting was actually a platform for me to express ideas. And so like my Tree of Life song was one of my most popular songs for sure. It's a song, it's a 3-verse song about the hemp plant. And I was a big, I was really focused on cannabis. I was a cannabis user, and I was, not a medical cannabis user. I was just like a young stoner. I mean, I was using it medicinally for my soul. But I knew people, like I had friends that were like cannabis users that were, they were medical patients, epileptics that were being targeted by police in Ohio. And I just couldn't fathom that. So that had a big influence on me. So I wrote this song, The Tree of Life, with the idea of educating people about this amazing plant and how, how demonized it was for so long. Now we see cannabis being legalized all over the United States and all over the world again, thank God. In fact, yesterday, 2 more states legalized in the United States. So like about half the US is legal now. And so that was a big, using it, my music as a way to raise awareness. And then what do people say? I don't know, man. I hope they like it. People have a good time. I've never, I've had a couple people question my lyrics, which I think is great, because I feel like that's the point. It should be, you should be asking questions, especially if it's something that you don't necessarily 100% vibe with. What are you playing back here, DJ? What's going on?
Got your Tree of Life rocking and rolling here. Can you hear it?
Yeah, baby. Ever hold. Well, the pioneers covered up the wagon train with the camera in Washington, and jump a single on their farms and to make the most of it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Wanted to put that up. Oh, and we have some responses. Jennifer says your music is very empowering, conscious lyrics.
Thanks. Hey, Taya.
There you go. Well, let's jump in on grab your guitar and let me give you this opportunity to play. Okay, the stage is yours. Lights, camera, action. Luces, cámara, acción.
All right, maybe I'll do. Oh my God. I'll do a quick one. I think I'll do. Let's see. This is the one I wrote most recently that I produced. This one I produced with Norbert. I haven't released it yet, but you can listen to my older stuff online after this if you like, but I'm gonna play this one which hasn't been released. It's called I'm a Human. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm not white, I'm not black, no I'm not Indian, I'm not American, I'm not a terrorist, I'm a human. I'm not a city boy, I'm not a country man, not suburban, working 3 jobs to pay the rent. I'm not a billionaire, I'm not a cyborg, I'm a human. I was born on the earth, 3rd rock from the sun, member of the Milky Way. I need water and food, shelter and love, though I wouldn't mind some chocolate in a hot tub today. I'm not a woman, I'm not a man, I'm not gay, I'm not straight, I'm not bi, I'm not trans. I like to snuggle, I don't like trouble, I'm a human. I was born on the earth, 3rd rock from the sun, member of the Milky Way, so they say. I need water and food, shelter and love, though I wouldn't mind a durian and a massage today. Durian's a fruit, for those of you who don't know, it's my favorite fruit. I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Jew, but I believe to do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I'm not a Muslim, not a Hindu, I'm a human. Yes, I know I'm complex, I'm just a hot mess, I'm human. I'm a human, I'm a human. There you go. That's the I'm a Human song. And yeah, I haven't released that one yet. But you can get a version of that if you join my Patreon. It's the only place I have released it. I have a private Patreon group that you can join. I think DTO is using this opportunity to take care of his human needs. I'm going to sing another song. I also recorded this one with Norbert. I'm very excited to release this. And DTO told me that his number one song was called Breath. So this is mine. It's called Breathe. Once upon a time, there was a people who forgot how simple life really was. Instead of sitting around with families, we were individuals sitting around boxes with screens, and we forgot how to grow our own food. And hunting was replaced by factories, very cool, and everything seemed to be divided by plastic, made of a petrochemical oil, which was extremely toxic. And people also ran their cars on that oil, which polluted the air and the water and the soil. But the ones who benefited didn't care about the earth. They were only interested in how much the oil was worth. And when they started running up, they started fighting for control to secure the world's supply. Petroleum was the goal, so they assembled their armies. Wars destroyed life, they hid the truth from the people, kept it out of their sights. And millions of people were betrayed by these lies, convinced to kill each other and watch each other die. Entire cultures were destroyed before our very eyes. We just sat around and watched the fire falling from the sky. For all the time we knew that it could happen to us, so we were living in fear. We were on the same bus, by invading other people. We created more enemies, but they believed that they were doing it to make themselves free. This is the world that I grew up in, so you understand my brain when it begins to spin, searching for solutions, a better way to be. And I think much clearer when I begin to breathe. So I breathe. Breathe. in the air. Take a deep breath. It's everywhere. Heal my spirit, heal my body, heal my soul. I know who I am. Consciousness spinning through sacred air. Through sacred air. Through sacred air. Yes, and it's time for us to believe who we are. The shamans, the healers, whatever your call is. Actualize and realize when we come here to balance these violent times. Warriors of peace, ambassadors of love. Always staying centered when push comes to shove. Third eye wide open and dancing to music. Accepting our powers and knowing how to use them. Coming together, we circle the globe, seeing the oneness. Our chakras are glowing. Our vibrations is what we want it to be. Keep it high, and we'll know how it feels to be free. All we gotta do to understand these ways is breathe real deep and enjoy each day. Work selflessly with others, and we'll all survive together. Tomorrow is now, and there's beautiful weather, so breathe. Breathe in the air. Take a deep breath. It's everywhere. Heal our spirits. Heal our bodies. Heal our souls. Oh, I know who I am. Consciousness spinning through sacred air. Through sacred air. It's starting to rain. Through sacred air. Sacred air. Through sacred air. We got the Mother Earth cameo in the background here.
Yes, so good. Started raining here as well, and
Almost like we're in the same place. Almost like we're in the
it's
same country.
exactly.
I could probably see you actually right through this up on top of that mountain over there.
There you go. I can see you down there somewhere. Yes, we are live streaming. Thank you for that extraordinary performance. So good. We had amazing responses. Jennifer, beautiful rain. So good to hear you. Quintessential human. Wendy says aloha.
Aloha.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. All right. So let's dive into our last question of the 5Q interview. So let's jump right into when is your next event? We're going to be sharing some links. Tell us more.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Okay, so my next true event is a private party for my friend's 50th birthday party. I'm not going to give any details about it, but let's just say it's going to be epic. The Grateful Dead. I got my band, the Taco Tall Road Rockers, is going to be playing there. We're doing a Grateful Dead and Allman Brothers set for my friend's birthday party. But that's
So cool.
After that, I've got we're doing a Korean natural farming program here on my farm. This is Finca Vida Verde, and we have this is a permaculture education center, and one of the first programs of the season, of the dry season, is going to be our Korean natural farming event. That's in the middle of December. I believe it starts on December 12th. I'll have to look that up exactly and post it in the link in the comments afterwards. And then of course, as you know, DTO, our second annual Monkey Medicine Sacred New Year's Dance Party. There it is, Sacred New Year's Dance Party. And we did our first one last year here on the farm, and it was a lot of fun. That was last year's poster. I know.
Yeah, we got a fresh one coming up, and this is how people can.
But it's not ready yet.
Okay, all right. This is why we love our live streams. And for everyone out there, I just put the link in the comments. So come to our New Year's Eve experience, December 31st every year. That's when New Year's Eve is, just in case you forgot. And we will be bringing an amazing amount of love, connection. It's a sacred New Year's Eve dance party at Finca Vida Verde in the Tacotal Eco Village community in Costa Rica. Fly into San Jose, the capital. Airport code is SJO. And this is a New Year's Eve event that has gourmet food, sacred fire, sacred cacao, ceremony, elixir bar, live performances by some of the Central Valley's best artists. And as you can see, the lineup, Matthew Human and Brockle Bridle.
Raquel Brittle, yeah.
Raquel Brittle.
She was in my band, The Human Revolution, for about 5 years, and she's a real sweet vocalist and a violin player. And so we're gonna start it off with an acoustic set.
Nice.
And then you guys will be taking over the Lady Himalaya.
Perfect. Yeah. So we get to do our transformational movement, sacred dance, and then Tacotal Road Rockers.
That's my funky funk and rock band here in Costa Rica.
Love it. Yeah. And then after that, we'll close it out. I'll be playing a set for everyone to get their groove on into 2023.
I removed that.
No it is DJ. All good.
You're not a DJ, bro. You're a producer, my friend.
I'm a music producer. Oh, here we go. Late night dance set by DTO.
There it is.
And just like I refreshed, we want everyone to refresh themselves by coming to a refreshing experience, replenishing. And Costa Rica does just that for the soul. And this is one of the reasons that Matthew and I, being from the States, have chosen to live our lives in this amazing country. And so anyone out there that is Costa Rica curious, come on down. This would be such a great private and public event because, of course, here we are live streaming about it. But it's an intimate setting is how we'll call it. So reach out to us. We just recently put up the ticket link. We got a brand new fresh flyer coming out very soon that you'll see on social media. And that goes right into how you can find Matthew online. You can go to Instagram, Matthew Human. You can go to MatthewHuman.com. And any other things to say about this awesome event? We're just going to wrap it up and recap everything that you talked about. And so I'm grateful that you got to share about your journey with music, your inspirations. You got to perform a song, get to share about your remaining dates of 2022 as we get to celebrate 2023 with this New Year's Eve amazing event. And here is for everyone out there, you want to mark your calendar, come to Costa Rica.
Where can they find the link, DTO?
I put the link in the comments on Facebook. And so that's the best way to find the link because it's a longer link. And that's the best way. You just click that and you will be able to find it.
One thing I'd like to say about it that I'd like to shout out is my friend Sarah Wu and the Village Witches. She's been here in Costa Rica for about 15 years herself, about as long as I've been here. And she's an herbalist and just awesome at what she does. And like she started the Village Witches, one of the co-founders of the Envision Festival, which is a real popular dance festival down in Uvita every year.
Uvita,
one of the co-founders of that. And she kind of manages the whole village area and the Village Witches, which is like herbalism, elixir. They do, at different events, she does like herbal clinics. This year they're going to have the elixir bar there. And so she's going to be bringing her amazing elixir bar to our New Year's event. And also she'll be leading the the sacred cacao ceremony with her own ceremonial cacao. She last year, she got the cacao beans direct from the producer and peeled them all by hand and made the cacao as fresh as you can possibly make cacao.
Wow.
And she and her friends, they just spent a whole day like peeling cacao, and so that all 150 of us could have just a really start our new year with a really sacred medicine ceremony around the fire. So I really want to shout her out, and I'm excited that she'll be there. I'm excited that you guys are going to be there to share your medicine as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah. So once you go to that link, this is where you can choose. There's different types of tickets. You can stay over, which is always a great idea. There's glamping, a lot of different options there. So once you get to the ticket link that's in the comments here, then sign up, invite your friends.
There's glamping, there's camping, there's just come for the night. And then there's also for people who have something else going on earlier in the night and they, or they can't get away from their kids till later or something like that. Because this is an adults only event. We may allow a few teenagers, but not like, no kids. That's important because just for the safety of all. But for those who can only show up for the late night, we've got an option of just come for the late night music and dance. And that's I recommend coming for the whole event though, because it's a really amazing experience and I'm excited to share the whole thing with everyone. So.
Yes. So excited. And yeah, when you reached out to us, we were just like, yes, let's make this happen. And very, very pleased that we get to celebrate. It's been a wild and adventurous year for a lot of us. And as we move into a fresh year, it's an opportunity for us to come together as a community, to be creative, self-expressed, and to be in connection, and to eat delicious, nutritious food, which I know for you and I, we prioritize that. Super bomb.
Organic, and dance your friggin' ass off, and have we do all the sacred intention setting, we do all the good nourishing of the food, and then just let go for the end of that's one of my favorite things about New Year's is like dancing into the new year and like just letting go,
Yes.
like let 2021, 22, whatever the heck year this is, let it go.
Flush it down the cosmic drain. Yeah, just let it swirl down, flush it down.
We have dry
fresh
toilets.
Possibilities.
We don't have the flush, but we got
we got septic.
To the bottom of the compost pile, put some sawdust on it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, brother. So glad that we got to connect, and thank you for joining the podcast. This is Nameless Energy, where we talk about music, creativity, self-expression, and I love getting to know you more. And I know that people that love who you are, love your music, got to have a deeper, intimate realization of how awesome you are. So grateful for that. Grateful that we're going to be able to celebrate the New Year's. And this is a video that I'm going to close out with, which is Shakti Vortex that Himalaya and I got to film when we did our tour a few years ago, and bring in the Shakti energy, right? That's what Costa Rica is about, is Mother Nature and the biodiversity, and the planet's alive, and we're alive.
Himalaya's father's going to be there, right? And
yes.
So we're gonna try and talk him into getting on some
tabla. Yes, yeah, flying in. So if he can fly in from Canada, then originally flew in from India to Canada, and now he's coming. So Costa Rica, we welcome you. So come on down. It's a tropical paradise. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Keep on enjoying your day, everyone.
Thanks everybody who tuned in, and thanks all my friends, and thanks for sharing this and spreading the word. We love you. Thank you so much. Thank you, DTO.
You're welcome, brother. Mucho amor. Adios.
Ciao.
Ciao. Pura vida, Mai.
प्रथमं शवपुत्री च द्वितीयं ब्रह्मचारिणी तृतीयं चन्द्रगन्तेति कुष्मन्तेति चतुर्थकं पञ्चमं स्कन्दमातेति षष्ठं कात्यायनीति च सप्तमं कालरात्रीति महागौरीति षष्ठमं नवमं सिद्धिदात्री च नवदुर्गा प्रकीर्तिता उक्तान्येतरि नामानि परमनव महात्मनः